In this video, we're going to be discussing playing the accounts game, what you're going to need to play the accounts game, and each of the different traffic networks and how the accounts game plays into each one. So what do I even mean by the accounts game? In affiliate marketing, it's extremely common to run into account issues. Now, whether it's your fault or you get randomly banned, it's a very common issue to run into. I've had accounts be randomly banned when I did absolutely nothing wrong. I've had, especially Google accounts, I've had Google accounts where I was running everything within policy, and my rep, who is my account manager, even told me that it was a random ban that wasn't my fault. I was actually even working with a higher up division at this traffic source, and they basically randomly banned me and said, well, we're not going to help you. So it can and will happen to everyone. Now, the accounts game is simply just a common term that's used by a lot of affiliates as far as having backup accounts, creating new accounts, and keeping your business alive and well even after a disaster. So before proceeding with this video, I just want to let you know that before you create any new accounts, if you've been suspended, please play by the rules and try to prevent suspensions. Would you rather make $50,000 per year for the next 20 plus years or make $10,000 in a week and have to struggle with accounts for the rest of your career? It's a very simple choice if it was left up to me. So the final point is that you want to attempt to get your account back first before proceeding with anything that I tell you in this video. So always try to get your account back if you can. It's just much easier if you can do that. So what do I need to pull this off? So I'd recommend having access to a mobile hotspot IP. So if anybody that has a cell phone basically is going to have access to this. The reason why you want a mobile hotspot IP is that they constantly change their IP address and won't be as likely to be flagged by a traffic source for suspicious activity. So basically, when you get suspended, if you are using an IP address and your account gets suspended while you're using it on this IP address, that IP address and probably every other IP address you ever used to log into the account is going to be flagged and will lead to an immediate suspension if you create any more accounts under that IP address. This is where mobile hotspots come in, is because they constantly change their IP, and that's normal and routine for them. So it's not as likely to alert a traffic source. Now, you're also going to want something to mask the fingerprint of your browser. If you don't know what browser fingerprinting is, I'm not going to get into it. You can Google it and see what it is. Basically, your browser, your screen resolution, your browsing history. There's a million things that companies are tracking that you have no idea that they're actually tracking about you. And this is where browser fingerprinting comes into play. So the best tool that I can recommend would be Multi-Login app for affiliate marketing. I have a link down below, and they're a great company to work with. I know a lot of other affiliates use them and have had a lot of success with them. Basically, this prevents companies from being able to detect your browser fingerprint as easily. The next thing you're going to need is either virtual credit cards or a new credit card. So if you use your billing and it gets banned in a certain account, if you try to use that same billing information on a new account, it's going to get instantly suspended. And another service that I'm going to link down below is called Bread for Business. It's basically a payment solution that can help you get around this challenge. So this is specifically if you're going with virtual credit cards. If you're getting a new credit card, obviously you don't even have to mess with this. Either way, you're going to need one of the two. So moving on, the next thing you're going to need is a new domain and hosting company. So your other domain and hosting is going to be related to a suspended account. You try to use the same domain and hosting company. Your hosting company actually gives your website a certain IP, so that IP is potentially going to be flagged. So just replacing your domain and hosting is going to be the best way to go. A new hosting tracking domain as well, you're going to need to have one of those replaced simply because the other one is going to be related to the suspended account. New content. So all of your old content is going to be scanned, whether it's Bing ads, Google and Facebook are the main two that do this. Native ads is still going to probably do this as well. So you're going to need completely new content they're going to recognize you. They will shut you down. And I mean, as you can see by this point, this is really a pain in the neck, although it's not impossible. It's a pain in the neck to get it going. Once you get it going, it tends to be a pretty long-term solution, but you basically have to replace everything. And that's why I say here in the last point, patience. It's not the end of the world when this happens. I've survived multiple huge bans where I've lost a lot of capital, but I was very patient and persistent, and eventually I got back up and running. So here's the real question you have. What if none of this works for me? So if you go through this entire video, none of this works for you, you don't have any success, and you've tried absolutely everything. So if you have gone through this entire video, you've tried every single thing, you don't have any success, contact us. We have multiple specialist contacts who specialize in setting up new accounts and getting you back up and running on most traffic platforms besides native. So Bing, Google, and Facebook are really the top three that we can assist with and connect you with those people. But yeah, I mean, if none of this works for you, it's still not the end of the world. There's always that option where they're going to go in and do all of this for you. So what can help to prevent future bans? Now, the best thing that you can do to prevent future bans is not to leave a single trace that you are you. Imagine that you basically have to create an entirely new identity, and no, you don't need to actually get that sketchy, but you know, these automated systems are going to be looking for you and your content because you're now on their blacklist. Whether it was your fault or their fault, it doesn't matter. Google and Facebook are particularly tricky. They're going to scan your page using multiple tools. They'll take pictures and screenshots of your page. They'll even look into the code. If your page includes any of the same content, same code, similar layout, images, you're going to get suspended again, most likely. And finally, the best thing that you can do is to promote purely white hat content. The account warm-up thing is really not an actual thing. It's mostly a myth on most traffic sources. So if your campaign is going to stay up for the long term, it's going to get approved without problems. A lot of these traffic sources really don't care about the whole billing thing aside from Facebook. They just care about what you're promoting. So if you're trying to circumvent their systems, you're trying to promote something that's sketchy to them or they don't like it, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you're eventually going to get caught and shut down. So stick with the most white hat content you possibly can. So let's talk about some platform specifics, starting with Bing Ads. So with Bing, as I've told you, you're going to want to create an agency account and literally make as many accounts as possible. Now, it's much more unlikely to run into issues since they are not as big of a traffic source as Google and Facebook, thus them being much more lenient towards affiliates. So if you do get shut down on Bing, making an account is really not that hard. There's a lot of people all over the internet that sell Bing accounts and things like that and trade Bing accounts and it'll give you access. I mean, getting a new Bing account is really kind of the baby step. I mean, if you struggle with getting a new Bing account, getting a new AdWords account going or a new Facebook account is going to seem like the most impossible task in the world. So if you're having account problems in Bing, I would focus on getting that figured out before moving on to the other platforms. So Google AdWords. Google AdWords is infamous for account problems, and create an MCC in as many accounts as possible before you start advertising. You're going to want to appear as a real advertising agency to them. So you want to actually have preferably a real website. So whatever the name of your company is that you sign up with Google through, don't use like a personal email. Use a company email if you can, or at least create a company Gmail. I would build out a website as well if you can for your company, like I said, and attach that to the actual MCC account. This way, when Google goes in and reviews your account, you actually look like a legitimate business and not somebody who's just trying to game their system. If you do run into problems, you are going to know it immediately on Google. Typically, when Google detects any affiliate activity that they don't like, they're going to either throw the account into manual review for 3 to 5 days, or they are going to immediately suspend the account for either suspicious payment activity or circumventing systems. They're never going to tell you the exact reason as to why they banned you. Google is one of those companies that does that. Facebook's the same way. They don't want people to know the exact reason, because otherwise they'll just fix it and get around it and keep going. So, if you try to go in and call them or message them or harass them or email them, it's not going to help. Believe me, I have tried calling them. For some accounts, I've called probably 20, 30 times before I finally got them to do something. And I spoke with a manager every single time. The account still ended up getting shut down eventually. So I wouldn't even waste the time with it. Just take it as a message saying this is probably not a good long-term solution. Maybe I should switch into a different niche and promote some content that Google actually likes. So moving on with AdWords, you can literally have as many Google accounts as you want with an MCC. This is the good news about AdWords, as long as you promote content that is Google friendly. So white hat stuff, nothing that's obviously affiliate. So if you're trying to collect any information or email addresses, lead submits on the first page, they will probably ban you for that. Anything that's a supplement, anything that has claims, financial, all that stuff is not Google friendly, and there's much, much more. You're welcome to look into the policy back in that video. 99.9% of all bans on Google are related to the niche. And I tell this to people all the time. If you look at my accounts that have really lasted for a long time, they are running content that is purely 100% Google friendly. It's a fully built out site that's selling an ethical, honest, straightforward product. And I mean, it's as clear as day what people are getting. I mean, there's no sketchy billing or anything like that. There's no claims. There's nothing like that. It's a fully built out website and fully built out business. And Google loves this type of content. So I've never had any problems on these types of accounts. And this is really what I say about just pleasing Google with that type of content. So once again, the good news is even if you use the same IP, the same billing, and the same landing page and domain, if it's purely white hat content, it will be allowed to run on AdWords. It doesn't matter if you've had a suspended account on the same IP or you've used the same billing and one of the accounts got suspended. You can literally create as many as you want. You just have to focus in on the niche and making sure the content is making Google happy. Facebook ads. So we take another step up here to the very, very top, the peak of the account's nightmare mountain. And the reason I say this is Facebook can be an account's nightmare if you aren't careful. It is probably the most notorious traffic platform in the affiliate marketing world for having to play the quote-unquote accounts game. In fact, I would almost say that Facebook is probably responsible for that term in and of itself. Facebook's very similar to Google in the technology that they use. However, they are much more strict on creating new accounts than Google. So they're going to care about the billing being related. They're going to care about the IP. They're going to care about all of these different elements. I mean, they're really going to tear your stuff apart and try to link accounts. Facebook actually uses a secret algorithm. I can't tell you the name of it, but what it does is it links accounts that are suspended. And they've done this so well that they've made cloaking nearly impossible on Facebook. And even the black hat cloaking people have had to either go with entirely new strategies or have completely disappeared from the space. So, I mean, it's just insane. I mean, there are people who literally their full-time job is to specialize in Facebook account recovery and new ad accounts, and they still have no idea how it all works. Aside from all of that and me making this sound like this is the most terrible thing ever, create 2 business managers and collect as many ad accounts as you can before you start running. You can get it up to about 1,000 ad accounts per business manager if you run enough spend and you reach out to the support team at Facebook. As of the recording of this video, there is obviously the monstrous amounts of change going on inside of the Facebook platform due to the data scandal. So there is that to take into account. There's a lot of things that could change, but I would take advantage of that as much as possible before they change that and create as many ad accounts as possible before you start running. Now, if you do run into issues with Facebook ad accounts, It's best to either contact us or try to use a friend or family member's business manager. It gets so incredibly complicated. You're more likely to cause damage than to actually get back up and running. So I would do one of those two. So continuing on, Facebook is going to ban your entire business manager when more than 20% of your ad accounts in the business manager are suspended. So if you have 100 ad accounts, don't lose more than 20. Otherwise, they're going to shut down that business manager. So try to get as many accounts as possible. Obviously, if you have 1,000 accounts, if you have 200 accounts to work with, that's a lot better, especially if you have two, so you have 400 to work with technically before you get your business manager shut down. You can see it's just a numbers game. So Facebook is also going to ban any accounts if you have too much negative feedback on any of your ads from users. So to prevent this, I'd recommend rotating your ads if you get a lot of negative feedback, a lot of bad comments. If you have to hide comments, delete comments, ban people from commenting on the page. If you get a lot of people hiding your ad, angry faces, anything that you can imagine somebody just doesn't want to have anything to do with you, that's considered negative feedback. And you can actually check your negative feedback score by going into your Facebook columns and adding that as a KPI that you want to manage under your columns. So that'll give you an idea of how much negative feedback you're getting. And finally, here we are at native ads. Now, this is funny enough, the kind of heaven as far as the accounts game, because native ads are really going to allow you to run just about anything you want, even gray hat or black hat material, with just some minor adjustments. So I don't recommend playing the accounts game because, unless you're cloaking or you're running really, really bad stuff, I mean, native ad platforms are going to want to try to work with you, and you'd be floored at what they are going to allow. So if you do want to play the accounts game on native, you're going to need to find an account seller for that platform. I don't have access to anybody like that. I don't know anybody who even really dabbles in that space because, like I said, it's pretty much irrelevant if you just make some minor changes. At this point, please proceed to the next video to continue.